for a quiet night.
Okay, Vice President Cresser, the meeting is now being recorded. Everybody from the waiting room that registered has been allowed access to the meeting, and their video has been turned off for security purposes. So feel free whenever you're ready to start the meeting. Thank you.
I do have a question for you, Jamie. Since you did that maneuver, I have in the middle of the screen on my tablet says this meeting is being recorded, says leave meeting or continue. What I do, hit continue to get rid of that thing?
Yes, please.
message?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard when I hit record, all of a sudden it said this meeting is being recorded. That must be
Yeah, yeah.
a new Zoom feature.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
very
yeah,
good.
just please hit continue and then you should be good to go.
We're clear. All right. Let's get started then with the Borough Council workshop and regular meeting. It would be for June 16th, 2021 or 2021, excuse me. We'll have call to order, I guess.
Sure. President Wireman is absent this evening. Vice President Cresser,
Here.
Councilmember Delizio,
Here.
Councilmember Ferguson,
Here.
Councilmember Stevens,
Here.
Mayor Kaler,
Here.
Manager DeFinis.
Here.
All right. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have Mr. Stevens do the invocation. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to
Allegiance to the flag
Of
the
the United
United
States of
States of
America.
of America,
And
to the republic for which it
which
stands,
stands
nation,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
liberty
for all.
and
justice for all.
Almighty God, we thank you for the blessing of this beautiful day and for your many blessings upon us and our community. We thank you for this opportunity to serve our residents in this way and ask that you give us wisdom and guide us in all the decisions that we make on our community's behalf. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right. Looking for approval of a motion to approve the agenda of June 16th, 2021 workshop regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
It's
Second.
Jason. Jason, and second was who?
Good, Sal.
God, okay.
Sal got it? Okay. Is
Yeah,
there any questions about that? Anything found?
John,
So, yes,
before you move forward, there are some additions to the agenda. All right. So there's resolution 2021-04 was added. It's the resolution that actually was the preliminary approval of the 43 Roosevelt land development. So that was not part of the packet, so I included that for more information purposes. Also included in that same section, the 43 Roosevelt will be the Planning Commission recommendation for final land development approval, and a list of conditions and obligations was also included in the packet. That's from Monday night's meeting from the Planning Commission. Number 3, Bennett's Court. There's a letter to the Montgomery County Tax Mapping Department requesting that the street known as East Broad Street or Broad Street be known as Bennett's Court. And that's an action item that was added as well. The Property and Equipment Committee meeting had a meeting, and there's some recommendations, and that was added as well under 8A. The manager's report, there's a demolition permit that was added. So because of the age of the property, and I'll explain it at that time. There was also added to the PMEA conference notification is actually the agenda, and the letter about the conference was added as well. Edinburgh Square update, a memo was added for that purpose. The contractor payment application for the 2021 ADA curb ramps replacement project was added. The engineer's letter was added, as well as added as an action item. And the last thing that I have is that there was a revised bill list that was added. Jamie, did I miss anything?
I also added to this agenda the police report. Just so you know that is under old business and correspondence. I received that earlier this week, so that should be in your updated packet that you received. And that is all. Thank you.
Okay. We're good there? We're done? Anything
Yes,
else?
I am done.
All right, super. Next item. Can I look for?
We need a
motion?
motion, John.
What's that?
Or we need a call for the vote for that motion.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did have Jason and Sal, and then all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. All right. Go on to the next item. A motion to approve the minutes of May 5th, 2021 workshop and May 19th, 2021 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
So that was Larry as
Yes,
a first and Jason as a second.
yes.
We spot any troubles, anything to talk about there? We good? All in favor of that?
Aye.
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 All right, moving on. Public input. Do we have anybody that wants to make a comment at this time? Please rise, state your name. Well, you wouldn't be rising, you'd be at home probably. So please be seated, state your name and your address and the reason for addressing council.
So right now, Vice President Cresser, I do not see anybody using the Zoom hand raise function this evening. Hold on one second, please. I need to turn off somebody's video. Let me take that back. I see Mr. Gerard has his hand raised. We do have a comment that was submitted prior to the meeting. I will read that next. Mr. Gerard, you can lower your hand and address Borough Council and Mayor Taylor this evening. Your video has been turned off just for security purposes. We don't allow video sharing, but please address council.
Hello, Rich.
Yes, hi. I just have a quick question out of curiosity. Is there anything planned for the upcoming Saturday honoring of Juneteenth within the borough that you are aware of?
I am not aware of that.
Oh,
No.
Is there
Who's
anything,
there?
Michael, that I should know about that was talked about? So they just approved that nationally, didn't they, just the other day?
Yes, I'm
As
just
of
wondering out of
yesterday,
my own,
maybe?
I'm just asking out of my own curiosity if anything was being
That's a
done.
it's a good question. Is there anything that was talked about in the borough that I'm not aware of, that I didn't get a chance to talk to anything about today? Jamie?
We have not had a discussion staff has not had a discussion with any council members about that item.
All right,
Do you
That's
know if that's
understandable.
going to be addressed for the future?
that's another good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure we'll be looking into it. because it
Okay.
is getting national attention.
All right.
You
All right,
know.
thank you.
And since you brought it up, it would be important also.
Well,
Sure,
if I
thanks
can
for
make a
bringing it up.
recommendation, would it be worth putting together a resolution that, two resolutions, one that recognizes Juneteenth for those of us in our community that were impacted by it, and then also you've got Pride Month coming up next month as well too. It might be good for us to put resolutions out there to show that we support the communities.
I'm sure that's something that could be considered. Well, I guess we'll review it in the future. Anything else, Rich?
Nope, that was it. Just that one question.
Okay, and thanks for your input, Jason.
Well, I think, Andrew's on the line. Andrew, if we can start thinking about how we would word a resolution, if we can start getting some preliminary information on that
Sure, yeah, we can look into that, no problem.
for both of those, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next, Jamie, anybody else?
I have a question that was submitted previously that I'm going to read aloud this evening. So this is from James Fagan. He resides at 503 South Main Street. This question pertains to the plan to expand Didden's greenhouses onto the opposite side of West Vine Street. The Hatfield portion of the Liberty Bell Trail currently ends directly across West Vine Street from the expansion site. If the trail is completed and extended towards Lansdale, it seems that it would have to go through this site. Does the expansion address the portion of the Liberty Bell Trail and how a completed trail may fit into the plan?
Good question. Michael, is there a good way to address that? Can you
Yes.
tell me anything on that, please?
Yes, there was, that was addressed in the letter that was sent to the Hatfield Township Zoning Board regarding that zoning application. The comment that was sent to there was a support letter from the borough for the variance, but that comment addressed the fact that the Liberty Bell Trail would be encompassed in their land development, and that we should have that as a condition of land development to take that into consideration. So that was addressed in the May 24th letter to the Hatfield Township Zoning Hearing Board, which the applicant actually received ahead of time, and as did the zoning hearing board and the zoning officer for Hatfield Township and the zoning solicitor for Hatfield Township.
Well, there's nobody to respond to on that, Jamie, because it was just a handwritten question, correct?
Correct. Mr. Fagan is on the line tonight, so he heard Manager DeFinis's response to his question. And if he
Okay.
has a follow-up, he can raise his hand, or he can submit a follow-up question to admin@hatfieldborough.com that can be distributed and addressed at the next council meeting.
All right, super. Thank you.
So one question that comes up with that, I know the wording said that when we talk about it, should take it into consideration. What kind of leeway does that give them when we think about that? Just saying, take it into consideration. Does the wording need to be more specific to say that they need to allocate space so that it can be extended?
Not during a zoning hearing. So that portion of it was not part of the zoning issue. That will be addressed during the land development. And as you know, land development is basically a negotiation.
Does that help you, Jason, as far as an answer?
It does. I'm just contemplating what
I
are
don't
the
think
what are
it's-
the possibilities that come from that?
During land development,
Mhm.
the applicant would present a plan to the borough, and the borough would approve or not approve the land development that they present. And to get to the final approval, there would be some conditions and obligations that would have to be met. And council can negotiate those during the process.
Okay. So
I
it's
think
something that we should, it's something that we should just keep top of mind for when that process begins, when that evaluation begins.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So when you say that council has to approve it, we just need to make sure that we keep that top of mind, that we keep that in consideration when we're evaluating the plan.
Well, yes, the zoning hearing decision will be part of the submission. They'll have to inform the borough of what zoning hearing relief they secured to move their project forward. And at that time, you would know that they've received their zoning relief and that they can move forward with the land development, and anything that you want to address during land development can be done during that land development process.
That help you out, Jason? You
It
good?
does. It does. I mean, I think it's just important that, that, like I said, that is continued. I mean, I know in the borough, we've made a lot of effort to make sure that our portion of the Liberty Trail is you know, taken in consideration for everything. So just want to make sure everyone else is doing the same thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if you and I were walking down that trail, we wouldn't want the embarrassment of, hey, what happened here? I thought we made this decision that we were going to have a trail. We won't let that happen. We'll have a trail.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think it's a good point you bring up, and we'll stay on top of it.
Yeah, John,
Yes.
I think Jamie has these meetings with the other officials about that trail. And she probably can give us the insight on what they talk about, that problem. If it's going to be a problem.
Now that probably all the ideas were prior to Diddens making an expansion. Is that correct, Jamie?
So next Thursday, I believe it is, myself, Manager to Finis and Public Works Director Stephen Fickert are going to attend a planning session in Hatfield Township. And it's going to talk about the alignment of the trail. So they have some general ideas of how the trail is going to connect all the way from Upper Gwinnett through Sourton, Telford, Franconia area. And one of the proposed is along the trail line from Lansdale to Hatfield, but it's not 100% secure and say set in stone. So this meeting is going to talk about where we see the connections coming in. So definitely Diddens is something that Mike and I are going to bring up at that meeting. And we also have partnerships. I know Larry was reached out to in the Historical Society if they want to get on board. I know he said yes. And just like, where do you want to see this trail go? What do you want to see in the future? And Mike and I had discussed about bringing Diddens in on that conversation, just to let them know how important the trail is to the borough and also the surrounding municipalities in the North Penn area, that we want to make this larger connection. So after that meeting, we'll give an update and where we see those connections made and make sure that Diddens is also brought in to that conversation as well. Kind of like a strategic planning partner or something like that, just so they know when they go into land development that this is something that the borough is really wants some focus on, and to make sure that we get that connection from Hatfield to Hatfield Township and all the way to Lansdale.
Yeah, it's very important for the borough to accomplish the connection of the trail. So yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think they'll understand what you're saying also. And all right, moving on from there. Any other questions to attach that or anything else? Is there any other questions from anybody, Jamie?
I do not see anyone's hand raised at this time.
Oh, must be doing a good job so far here. Announcements? Not to be a job hog, is that something that you talk about, Michael, or is that something?
Yes,
you want me to-
I'll take care of that.
Okay, that's what I
So,
thought it was your turn, but
So Borough office will be closed July 5th in observance of the 4th of July holiday, which falls on a Sunday. The next planning commission meeting is scheduled for July 12th at 7 p.m. in person. Next borough council meetings are July 21st, regular workshop, the workshop meeting and regular meetings, and they are planned for in person at this time. Movie in the Park, scheduled for June 17th at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Hope everybody shows up and has a great time. That's all I have at this time.
Okay,
If I can make an announcement, switch hats for a moment and just let you all know that the Hatfield History Museum is planning a grand opening celebration. Even though we've been open since last August, we're going to finally kind of celebrate that opening this October 8th and 9th with a grand opening celebration. And that's about all the information we have on it right now is the date, but we'll certainly be sure to keep council and the public informed as that gets closer.
all right, very good. Anything else from anybody? We're good. Moving on, number 5. The NMCRC protocol for Act 101 violations. Can somebody expand on that, please?
So that's the Northern Montgomery County Recycling Commission.
right.
So which the borough is one of the members of that, the member municipalities. So this is the legislation that the Northern Montgomery County Recycling Commission would like all of the members to adopt. And it was presented to Borough Council in the past. And then it was sent back. We sent some comments back, and then Borough Council was not in favor of moving forward on this. This is the second attempt at that by the Northern Montgomery County Recycling Commission to get all the members on the same page. There was supposed to have been a representative from the solicitors for the Northern Montgomery County Recycling Commission to be here tonight. They couldn't have anyone available. They had previous obligations. So this is the form that it's in right now. If you wanted to continue in this form or add anything or delete anything from it, it's marked as a draft. You can have that discussion, or if you want to table it until the next meeting when possibly someone from the Northern Montgomery County Recycling Commission Solicitor's Office would be available to discuss this with you. But the backup was there as well. The regulation violations of Act 101.
And Mike, it's Andrew. I think the biggest change they sort of made was that before any kind of violation or any kind of action would be taken by them, they would come to you and to the borough first and sort of address it and see how you'd wanted to move forward with it. So they obviously wouldn't be going directly to sending out violations and things like that.
Okay. So there you have it from your solicitor. So you can decide, council can decide what they want to do with this. If you want to keep talking about it, if you want to make any changes to the legislation, or wait till next month and hopefully someone from the Montgomery County Recycling Commission's Solicitor's Office would be here to further explain their position on this.
If I can make a suggestion, I'd recommend that we table it till then. I know we've also talked about the consequences of, do we want to stay within this organization or not? And know that there's some financial consequences if we decide to stay, if we decide to exit it. And so I think, it'd be good for us to kind of look at all those pieces together, after we've had some discussion with our solicitor.
Sounds good.
When an idea is tabled, does it create a motion? We need a motion for that and then a vote?
There's no action. There was no action requested at this time on this, on the agenda for this item.
Right.
So
Does it require?
You could just, no, you could just move on. You can have a discussion about it, or you could just move on to the next agenda item. Is that reasonable, Andrew?
Yep, definitely.
I think I think it needs more study here. We need to look at it more. But all right, moving on. Good idea. Number 6, 43 Roosevelt final land development presentation.
So in the audience tonight is Mr. Camburn, Chad Camburn from Bursich, as well as the applicant. So we will turn this over to Mr. Camburn and Mr. Smealand. Jason, are you on the line?
I do not see anybody from 43 Roosevelt on, and I didn't let anybody in, so.
Okay.
It's just
All right.
Chad.
So
All right, I can do a short presentation here on what the application is. It's the existing house at the corner of Roosevelt Avenue and North Girard Terrace. This project previously received preliminary plan approval from Planning Commission and Borough Council. Resolution was approved for that preliminary plan approval. It included a number of conditions, including resolving your professional consultants' letters. They've since resubmitted plans and documents. You can see I have a letter out dated June 8th, which still has some comments, but for the most part, I would consider them cleanup items. They've predominantly addressed our technical review comments, as well as I believe your other consultants as well, with the exception of one comment on your traffic engineer's letter. For the most part, we're satisfied with the plans. Like I said, there's a couple cleanup items that need to be addressed, and I believe they are included in the Planning Commission's recommended conditions. If there's anything specific Borough Council wants to discuss, I can certainly answer questions. Otherwise, it's my recommendation that this plan be I guess presented with a resolution at the following meeting for approval.
Thank you, Chad. Anybody have any questions for Chad?
So I'm sorry, Chad, you said there were still a couple of items, action items still left?
Yeah, and there typically are on a project like this. Like I said, I would consider them cleanup items, a couple things they may need to do on the plans, but nothing's going to change with respect to the site layout. Nothing's going to change with respect to the technical design. And in fact, at the Planning Commission meeting, they've already shown that they've addressed some of the plan items that are in my review letter. They indicated that the remaining comments in your consultant's letters, including mine, will comply, which means they will address them. Everything else, again, is in the conditions of the Planning Commission's recommendation.
We good on that? Any comments? Larry, Jason,
We're okay.
we're good?
Good.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Number 7. Bennett's Court preliminary land development presentation.
So the Bennett's Court group had asked to be tabled from discussion tonight, except for one item that is they need to move forward to keep their project moving forward. And that is the letter that you see on the screen right now to the Montgomery County Tax Mapping Department, Mr. Clementi. So that portion of what is sometimes called Broad Street or East Broad Street, they're looking to rename it as and make it part of the that paper street, part of the development itself, and rename it Bennett's Court, so that they can add attach a tax parcel number to it, so that it can be dedicated to, or I'm sorry, incorporated into that land. Is that fair enough, Andrew?
Yeah, that's right. And it also, by them being able to move forward with this, they get a parcel number. The residents who live around the development that can then move forward with whatever they need to do in terms of their agreements with the developer. So it helps them too.
So that is on for, as an action item as well, tonight.
Okay.
I'm good with it, except I think we should name it Ferguson Court instead of Bennett's Court. Just kidding for those who are recording me. Just kidding, just kidding.
How come all the streets in the borough are named Ferguson? Ferguson Avenue, Ferguson Alley, Ferguson. Do you have anything?
I wish
to do
we
with
had that much
Jason?
expansion going on in the borough. That'd be great if there
Did you
was
have
that
anything
much
to do with
development
that?
going on.
You're a funny guy. All right, next.
Wait, John, I
Yes,
want to ask the question here. Hey, Mike,
Yes, sir.
previously was on council, if a street was going to be dedicated to the borough, it had to meet the PennDOT specifications. Has anything changed, or what is it now?
No, because that paper street's not being dedicated to the borough.
I
It
know,
never-
Mike, that's not the question. Last time I asked that question, it got mixed up. But the question is, what is the width of that street supposed to be? If it, for meeting PennDOT specifications for dedication?
Chad,
Like,
I don't know specifically for PennDOT's dedication requirement. I mean, PennDOT doesn't have a dedication requirement. Your borough code has a dedication requirement, and that's 40 feet. And
what
that's
is
what
our,
they're,
okay,
and that's
what
what
is
they
our
have
requirement?
within their portion or their controlled portion of the
Right.
project.
all right,
Historically,
All I'm trying-
PennDOT right-of-ways are 33 feet wide. So if you see any old
Well,
PennDOT
that's-
road that hasn't accepted additional right-of-way, they're 33 feet wide.
so you're saying if the owners of these houses come back later on, which happens a lot in the future, about dedicating their streets and all to the borough, it won't pass. Right? That
You
personal street is not wide enough.
Borough Council could choose to accept it, even with
They
it not
can?
meeting your ultimate right-of-way requirements. That would be Borough Council's decision.
Okay, so they don't have to meet PennDOT's approval. I mean, specifications.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Now, if
I'm
you're
just letting-
looking for
oh,
liquid
oh.
fuels funds, to use liquid fuels funds, that's a different question.
Oh, I know, yeah, well, that would be part of it. Liquid fuels is um, population and roadway and the amount of road or streets.
Correct. Length of cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
There's a number of conditions that go into that.
yeah. Okay,
And those conditions
Well-
would need to be considered by Borough Council if and when you ever, choose to consider accepting dedication.
right. That's the reason I brought it up.
Right.
Okay. All right, I'm satisfied.
that's
All I
a good,
wanted to do is let Borough Council know the rules. That's all.
very good. Anything else on that? Anybody?
Chad, I got a question real quick. As you bring that up, I forget, is there a homeowners association with this court? I didn't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, an HOA will be created for the maintenance of this property,
Okay,
including the roadway, the snow plowing, maintenance of the stormwater basin. Essentially everything except the sanitary sewer system, which Borough Council decided you would accept dedication of.
okay. I'm remembering now. Thanks. Yeah.
We're all good with that?
Mhm.
Last call. All right, very good. Moving on. Re- Reports from standing committees and the mayor.
The Property Equipment Committee met recently to discuss a number of items. First on the agenda was discuss the return to in-person meetings. And the committee's recommendation is that we return to in-person meetings effective our July 21 meeting. At that time, the plan is to video record all the public meetings and to post them to the borough's website and YouTube. And at that time, we will discontinue the Zoom meeting function. Along with that, we're.
Hey, Larry, I'm sorry, I got a
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
So, so when we say discontinue the Zoom meeting, are we saying that residents would no longer be able to join the meeting through Zoom? Or are we just
That's
saying discontinuing the main, our setup of the Zoom meeting, you know?
We will, our recommendation is that we no longer broadcast our meetings live. We will video record them and broadcast them the following day.
Why wouldn't we want residents to be able to still be able to come to the meetings remotely instead of having to come in person?
I think there are technological challenges associated with that. Could you comment on that, either Jamie or Mike?
I can, yes, the council chambers is not set up to live stream meetings.
And when you say set up, it just means that we don't have cameras set up in the room to do that, right?
We do not have the capability in the current council chambers to do that. No, we do not.
Okay. Can we find out what it would take to do that?
Preliminary discussions or preliminary information that we've collected is probably in the $60,000 range.
And what would it take to do that?
To hire, well, we would have to actually bid out a contract to have someone come in and set all that video and audio system up in council chambers.
Well, we already have an audio system that works, right? Wouldn't it just be tapping into that? And then as with regard to a camera, as far as I know, there's no camera that has focus on the council meetings itself or the resident area where someone might get up to speak. But I'm assuming that would be really the only limitation, right? Is setting up the cameras, and then the software, is the software. Am I underestimating this?
Well, I think also you'd pretty much need to hire a tech person to run all the equipment to do it properly.
Well, I thought we talked about Lindsay possibly doing this. So, I mean, I guess we don't have to get into a long discussion about it, but when we first started Zoom, I thought we talked a while back that, it's kind of advantageous. It provides opportunity for the residents to be more involved and wanted to continue doing this. So I would like to see what it would take to actually do that. I know there'd be some complications and costs, but let's understand what it would take to do that. Well, once we start in-person meetings, is my thought. I don't know if the rest of the council agrees with that.
Now, I have a question. This is a wacko question, all right? Is there such a thing as knowing how many people view our Zoom meetings? Jamie, would you know that?
Sure. So when Lindsay posts the Zoom, I know who views them because they are who logs in live. Lindsay will post them on the website and our YouTube channel, and there's totals of how many people viewed every video. So she would be able to tell you. I'm not sure on the website if it would give you a running number because now we have the new website, but on the YouTube channel before, once we would post them within 72 hours, she could see that maybe 6 people watched the Zoom meeting that month, or
Well, what I was getting at, for that particular night only, do we have, is there such a thing as knowing how many people are watching this Zoom meeting presently, let's say? Is there any way of knowing how many people are watching this right now?
Yeah, it's just who's here in the meeting.
Okay,
So it's just the, is there five? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 residents that registered tonight are the 5 people that are participating in this meeting from Hatfield Borough that are not an elected official, a staff member, or a consultant.
okay. Because can help lead back to Jason's inquiry, I would think, because, you know, when we're starting to think about cost and so on. But if the people aren't watching it live that evening, but I guess it'd be most important to promote that the workshop is one of the ones that you do want to watch a day or two after the fact. This way, if there is any comments, you would be able to get them in on, you know, on our second meeting, our regular meeting, when, let's say, if there is an action item or something like that, or some kind of a project to be okayed, that might be a way of saving thousands of dollars, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think too, I mean, John, you bring up a good point. I guess as I'm talking about it, I mean, obviously, you know, Larry, in the statement, if we don't have the capability to do live Zoom meetings, then obviously we can't do that right now. So the statement's still very valid. But as I guess, as we look forward of, you know, how do we want to communicate to our residents? What information do we want to provide? When do we want to provide it? You know, I'm a staunch advocate of providing these kind of communication channels. You know, I know I've had some conversations recently with Mike and Jamie about, you know, how do we report after action items, you know, and the methods by which we communicate are a lot different than what they used to be. And so, you know, and my thought process is to try and provide those avenues of communication, provide avenues for people to attend meetings, you know, remotely versus having to come in person. I mean, I'm not sure if everyone's aware, there are some religious constraints on some of our residents on a 7 o'clock meeting. And so that creates problems too. And I don't know that it's going to increase participation, but I definitely think, you know, having a channel of how we're presenting and communicating that fits with how people are communicating and absorbing information these days, you know, is forward looking. And I think it's something that we should just keep considering, you know, and how we're communicating, and not just expecting people, you know, to come to a borough meeting, but provide more avenues of communication, which is how they communicate and absorb information today. So long spiel. And like I said, I know, you know, obviously we don't have the capability now, then obviously there's nothing we can do about that now, but it's something that we should be thinking about going forward.
Yeah, did you understand my point with that too, Jason? I was trying to suggest that.
I do, but
I would have 2 weeks to absorb everything and then to respond. Also, they can, you know, make comment and so on, you know, and be heavily involved.
I definitely think that's one way to do it. Again, I'm not sure that's the most efficient way for people to do it.
Yeah, in our present state, without, you know, without having the stuff, the equipment, the capability, I think what we do have is maybe an answer for them at this point in time.
I think, John, I think you're correct in that, you know, right now that would be the avenue. So not disputing that. I just think going forward, it's something that we need to be thinking about, and kind of have a, you know, I'll use an MBA term, a paradigm shift on how we communicate and the tools by which we communicate. So you're right. Right now, that's kind of the plan that people would have to do. But again, I'm just thinking, as we're thinking forward, you know, well, how do we want to communicate, and what are the tools we want to communicate with? So that's why I'm mentioning that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, well taken and expressed well. But I believe right now we really got to watch. Things are, you know, in a borough, things are tight still. You know what I mean? But as far as funding, but it could be put in consideration for the future or whatever, or, you know, tweaking it, whatever we're doing, making some improvements, adding on or whatever to solve that problem.
It's certainly something to keep in mind. And as you all note, technology changes very rapidly. So it may become, a lot easier to accomplish that goal, at a more reasonable price in the near future, the way the technology changes so quickly. So, but certainly something to keep an eye on.
right.
Along with going back to in-person meetings, the seating arrangement has been altered in the council chambers to provide more distance between attendees and the public. Seats will also be spaced out more to kind of provide a level of comfort to everybody that's in attendance. Along with that, it's the recommendation of the committee that the borough will continue to follow the current CDC guidelines as they change. And I believe right now the recommendation is that any unvaccinated person should wear a mask inside the building. We're also recommending that the current hours of that the buildings open, that the municipal building is open to the public remain the same from 8:30 to 4 p.m. And that kind of gives the staff a half an hour on each end of their day to get up and running and kind of close the books for the day on the day, without having interaction with residents to throw into their opening and closing time frame. So are there any questions on any of those items, or everybody good with our recommendations? They want to adopt those recommendations?
I don't, yes. You've put a lot of thought into this recommendations, which I like, yes.
No issues.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, and that's the gazebo use policy. And we have an updated registration form. We're recommending updating our registration form to include a solicitor's recommended hold harmless agreement. And that just kind of, I believe, adds additional verbiage to kind of cover us during the pandemic. I believe that's the major change there. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah, we had put that together as it was going to be used during the pandemic, and just to safeguard the borough as a result of that, which, you can keep in there or can always adjust as needed. So,
Right. Okay, thank you.
yeah.
And then the same thing for the community room use, to change that policy, the community room use policy to also include the solicitor's recommended hold harmless agreement. Any discussion on those items?
I have one question, Larry. The person that comes in, they don't have a mask on. Are we supposed to ask them if they are vaccinated? And if not, who's enforcing the yes or the no of it as far as masking?
I'm sure we're not going to be asking anybody for their vaccination card ID.
All right.
It's on them.
Okay.
All right, if there's nothing else on those, we also discussed the seasonal banners, and our winter banners are in very poor shape. So it's our recommendation that we look at replacing them this year. And then for next year's budget to look at replacing our summer banners, which are also getting quite worn looking. there's no discussion on that.
Larry,
Yeah, go ahead, Sal.
yeah, these replacement banners are they in this year's budget to be replaced?
Yes, we do have banner.
No problem then.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we had talked about replacing the summer banners, but the winter banners are in worse shape. So we're looking at doing those this year and then move the summer banners for next year.
Mike and Jamie, do you guys recall how much was in there for that? Because I don't remember if it was specific to banners or it was just specific to decorations in general.
$5,000.
Was it $5,000? That's what I thought. So, okay.
Okay, and the final thing was the borough right-of-way and private driveway paving. And we had a request from a resident who wanted to pave their driveway, but part of it falls in the borough right-of-way, and they just wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to be a problem. The committee certainly didn't see it as a problem, and if they would like to pave it, we think they should be able to do that. So if anybody has any concerns about that, that's our recommendation.
Do you have some more details on that? Where it is, because effectively
Who it
they'd be
is?
taking over the right of way, right?
No, they're not
Well,
taking over the right of way.
they'll just be paving it.
They'll just be paving it. There's several locations throughout the borough where it could happen. And because the borough has the right of way and the driveways are already there, if they want to repave it or redo it, they should be able to, as long as they utilize the borough's driveway permit application, which would give the borough engineer the opportunity to review what's getting done. And then if there's something there that the borough doesn't want to have done, then at that time they can reject the permit. But they're not taking over any right of way.
Okay.
We all good with that?
I believe that was all that I had. Thank you.
Good report, though.
Hey, Mike, one additional question with that. Will any of those places, it sounds like there's several places in the borough where that could be, an issue. Are there any issues if that's done with the paving projects that we're going to have going on?
Not at this time. Most of them are in grass areas or where we have a right of way back to an electric transformer. I'll give you, for instance, Edgewood Drive.
Mm-hmm.
The property that was torn down that used to be called 122.5 Talmenson Avenue, which is now 360 something Edgewood Drive. That driveway comes off of Edgewood and it goes through the borough's right of way back to we have electric transformers back there that feed the apartments. So we want to make, if they want to pave up to the house that they're going to build back there, they're going to be paving in our right of way.
Mm-hmm.
So that they would have to do that as part of the borough specifications if they were going to do that. Does that answer your question?
It does. So in reality, because what you're saying too is the driveway permit application is our checks and balance for that.
Yes, it is.
We all good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I believe it would be our manager's report, correct?
Yes.
So in the packet was the manager's report. As I said, there was a stop work order issued on the Edinburgh Square, and the
Is that another one, or is this one we talked about before?
it's one that was talked about before, and the code enforcement officer did issue a follow-up to that and told him dated June 15th, and informed the developer how they were to have their stop work order lifted by providing updated plans that would be approved by the borough engineer, and then they could go forward for the changes they wanted to make. If you recall, the water lines were located in the wrong location for a couple of the properties. So they flipped the driveways. They flipped how the house was going to sit on one of the lots. And we just want to make sure that it doesn't impact anything else, including grading and any stormwater runoff. Is that close, Chad? Is that basically what we're trying to achieve here?
Yes, you hit it perfectly.
So that was why that letter was issued. Going forward in the report, the Bennett's Court, about 43 Garfield, 127 Penn Avenue. We received a sketch plan months ago. We haven't heard anything about that since. The borough still has a license agreement executed with SEPTA property. And if we find a tenant, then we could probably move into a long-term lease with SEPTA. The utility billing, any questions on any of those items?
Hey, Mike, have you had any more prospects regarding that property?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Moving on to utilities. Staff continues to monitor the electric and sewer past due accounts. Notices have been sent and as reminders. Utility billing system required some minor service during April-May billing cycle. And we were having some problem also with e-billing of the accounts. And I know that after several days of trying to find a fix for that, I received my bill sent to me in my regular email, not in my spam. So hopefully this new round of bills that is coming out as the July due bills were just read today, that email billing system will be back to the way it was when we first started doing email billing before we went over to the AMI system. And if I don't know if anybody else in the borough has received a communication from North Penn Water Authority, but they're replacing meters. I received one recently and had to make an appointment. So if you receive that letter, make your appointment so they can get their meters replaced. And because of that swap out of meters, we're still having a delay in the receiving accurate information from the sewer billing or the water billing from North Penn, which directly affects our sewer billing. But they're working to shorten that time frame of when we get the accurate information of the usage on that item. The electric portal is up and running, and if anybody hasn't done so yet, I log on to that attachment there that gets you into the portal and register, and then you can utilize that to get your information on your electric usage. So the East Lincoln Avenue Bridge Replacement Project is under construction. As many of you can see, the road's closed. They had to do all the stormwater and sanitary work first before they get to the bridge demolition, and they're heading in that direction. But it's quite a project, and if you ever get the opportunity to go down there and look at it, they've made some great strides in the work in the short time they've been actually down there working. Jamie will highlight something on that project during her discussion as well. The ADA ramp project has been completed, and a payment for request was actually added to the agenda tonight. The roadway resurfacing bid was awarded and is planned for July. We're scheduling a pre-construction meeting with that contractor between staff and the engineering team. We'll get together and have that scheduled as soon. The stormwater project on J Drive began, and the crew, this was all done with Borough crew. We had originally planned to outsource some of the work, but up to this point right now, it's all been done by Borough crew, saving some cost dollars, which is going to be important because then we found out that part of that stormwater is actually under the curb line. And we're gonna have to replace some curbing now. So we're gonna have a contractor do that. Once we get our work done, then we'll have them come back in and replace the curbing that we're gonna have to rip out as part of this project. But Stephen and his group have done a great job out there and trying to keep everyone moving while they're working and access while they're working, and have covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. The new PMEA website is up and running. The AMI or the AMP Rice project has been put in by Power Secure. The transformer was placed on site recently, so they're making headway. They've also communicated with the borough, and the borough reached out to Carr and Duff to have some work done for the Power Secure, putting in poles so that we can get some of these connections made for them. There was a HERC update. Couple last things here. The APPA conference scheduled for June 20th through 23rd, and PMEA annual conference September 8th to 10th at Penn State. So those couple of communications are there. The HERC update from the public information officer, and then the communication from PMEA about the September annual conference, and there's the agenda as well. One thing that I mentioned earlier, there's a construction permit, a demolition permit that was issued, came into the borough, and the code enforcement zoning officer asked me if Borough Council wanted to see this. I forwarded it to Larry and Sal, Mr. Delicio, and Mr. Stevens, because of the nature of the planning, building, and zoning issue. And Mr. Stevens confirmed that this property, even though it was built 1930, has no significant historical value to the borough. So that demolition permit was issued to 44 Lambert. That's all I have, unless anyone has any questions of me at this time.
Do we know what they're gonna build back there? They're gonna build another residence there?
They haven't disclosed that to the borough.
Okay.
Manager DeFinis, would you like to take a comment from the public? I see Mr. Gerard's hand is raised. He can ask your question if you would be okay with that.
Sure.
Okay, great. Mr. Gerard, you're up. You can lower your hand and ask your question to Manager DeFinis whenever you're ready.
My quick question, you had mentioned about the e-billing through email.
Yes.
How do you go about signing up for that?
Communicate, I believe you communicate with the billing department. There should be a form on the borough website.
Okay. And
And if not, you can reach out directly to the utility billing coordinator, and he can provide you with that form.
Okay, and that covers the electricity and the sewer bill, if I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Is that on the same schedule as the mailing would be, as it currently is? Because I wasn't even aware that you guys were doing that.
Yeah, and it's on the same schedule as the mailing. You just get it the day of the mailing.
Right.
So you get a little bit earlier.
Okay,
All right,
good to know. Thank you.
you're up.
And Mike, just one question about that demolition permit too. it says it was approved on the 15th, right?
He held it.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I saw work going out on there before. I saw stuff being put out there, so I was just curious about that.
They were taking stuff out of the property and hopefully that they would have this demolition permit. But they haven't started knocking the property down. They took some windows out. They took some things that they were going to have to replace if they were going to fix the property. But it actually, the property has been marked as by the borough as uninhabitable.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? All good? Looks like it would be Jamie's turn. Assistant Manager's report.
Okay, great, thank you. Included in your packets was my assistant manager's report. First up in my report is the American Rescue Plan Act, or the ARPA funds application. I wanted to let you know that myself and the Borough Treasurer, Diane Farrell, submitted this application to DCED. I believe we submitted it the end of last week. So those funds, the $348,000 plus that the borough will be getting will be coming. They said possibly July, August. That's the state talking. So maybe we'll see it around then or a little bit later. Half of it will be then, and then half of it 12 months following. And we'll talk a little bit more about that under new business, a bank account that we have set aside for those funds. So that application has been submitted, it's been accepted, and we should be receiving those funds by the end of the summer. Next is the East
Jamie?
Lincoln Avenue. Yeah,
Hey, Jamie, sorry.
Yeah.
Did they provide any more criteria on what it can be used for?
sure. So there's DCED had put out on their website, frequently asked questions. There's probably maybe 4 or 5 webinars that I've attended and Diana's attended to let us know what we can use them for. Most of it in the short is infrastructure projects. You cannot use it as a tax supplement. You can use it for sewer, water infrastructure right now, or broadband. Doesn't say anything about electric. We had asked Representative Malagary to check on that, as that verbiage was not passed when the act was passed. But again, Pennsylvania and some other states, Ohio, West Virginia, we're just a little bit different and own electric infrastructure. A lot of places across the United States don't. So Representative Malagary was looking into that for us, if we could include anything in infrastructure for electric. I think it was also priority pay for COVID, or supplemental things that you might have lost during COVID that you didn't get through FEMA or PEMA. Those are just some general things, but I can send you tomorrow. There's a really good website with a frequently asked questions section. It goes into detail, and I'll send you an email tomorrow with it. Check it out. It gives you a lot of good examples and answers some questions that you kind of don't really think about. So I'll make sure I share that with you tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, I think too, if we can create a list of projects either that we have going or that we've got scheduled in the next couple of years that we might be able to use it for, that might help council as well.
Yeah, I know myself and Chad have passed a couple communications back and forth. They were staying on top of the funding for us as well, just of what we think future projects should be. And we said we were going to have a sit down and kind of just brainstorm ideas and talk about it. Not sure if we can use it as part of the H2O or PA Small Water, as those were grants that were given to us, but we didn't start the projects yet. So those are some big infrastructure projects we have coming down the pipeline, but we thought maybe during the strategic planning meeting this year, we could kind of throw some ideas out there of some infrastructure projects or other ideas that could fit into the criteria, that we can get some more background information to see what we can supplement and use some of these funds for. Because you do have a time frame of when you have to use them, just like any other grant money that you'd be given. So the East Lincoln Avenue Bridge precast inspection, Mike touched base on the project a little bit in his report. This is on my assistant manager's report because PennDOT came back to McMahon and stated that we needed to have our precast inspected at the plant before it could be put. So we're getting going from that stone bridge that we have now, that dual arch stone bridge, to a precast single arch bridge. As part of the DVRPC, like retro reimbursement grid bridge project, PennDOT is now saying, and I know it's not like a PennDOT bridge, but they're saying that as part of the grant to get your money back, it needs to be inspected at the plant before it can leave the plant. It needs to fit specific criteria. And we're using TRC, and that company estimated project cost to be $15,000 in addition to what we're already paying for the bridge. Of course, that could be calculated in the 80% reimbursement that we would get back. So we're really only paying technically like $3,000 extra, you know, and some change for to get this inspection. This is the second time they've ran into it. McMahon said they just did a bridge in Lower Salford, and that was the first time they ever heard of this requirement, as it's something that's just starting to be implemented as part of the grant process and the grant project. So unfortunately, we're the second one that they've done, and we have to get it inspected at the plant. We do not have a project total cost for that yet, just as there's only one gentleman at the plant that can do the inspection. And we're getting like 7 precast pieces, like 9 walls, like there's a bunch of stuff that's going into making this one arch. And it just depends on his time and how much time it's going to take him to inspect. They're going to give us a change order request, just as we would get on any other project from our engineer as part of this project. And hopefully you'll see that in July, and you guys can approve that so we can move forward and get the bridge in place and continue on with the project.
Hey, Jamie, question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is somebody at the plant where they're manufacturing it doing the inspection, or
Yes.
is it an outside company that's doing the inspection?
No, so it's one person at the plant that's doing it. McMahon had said they may or may not have somebody that was qualified. And I said, well, when it comes to grants, I need to dot my I's and cross my T's, and I can't have you inspect it and me put it in, and then down the road, when we do all the closeout of the project, they come back and say, nope, sorry, now you can't get your 1.2 billion in your grant funding because it wasn't inspected at the plant. And unfortunately, the plant that it's at only has one gentleman that has the checklist of qualifications. That's why, unfortunately, the price just might be a little bit higher, and it depends on his time. If there was 2 or 3 people that would be able to do it at the plant, there'd be workers there, then it might be a little bit less, but it's just one person that happens to be the plant that they've has contracted with, and they're getting it made at. So it's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. Unfortunately, they have one gentleman that can do it.
Okay. And Chad, do you know about this inspection? What is this? It's sounds, I don't know if this is being done as part of some sort of defective trend that they've seen in civil engineering projects like this. What's the thought behind it?
I'm aware of it. I'm not familiar with it in this particular project. I'm really just working with the sanitary sewer component of it. But we did a bridge for the county, I'm gonna say maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it was not a grant project, but it was funded by, partially by the county and partially by a municipality. And they did have the same requirement that it had to be inspected at the plant. I don't recall offhand if it was, the inspection per se could have been, photographs with written documentation, or if an individual had to go and, physically to the plant and look at the manufacturing process. I don't recall on that particular one, but again, that wasn't, I'll say, a grant project as well. So I'm sure the grant requirements are probably much more strict, and it sounds like they're new as well. Probably within the last year or 2 would be my guess. But exactly what's required for the inspections, Jason, I'm not sure.
Jamie, can we get that level of detail? I'm just curious. I mean, 50 grand is a lot, and I understand, 80/20, we're only going to pay 3 grand of it, but I mean, that's a pretty big hit to this, and it'd probably be advantageous for us to get detail and understand, what's required in the grant. Are they capable and qualified to do this, and verify whatever certifications they have? Because if they do it and then find out that they weren't allowed to do it or not qualified, we're going to be the ones that that pay for it in the end, right? And I don't mean physically or financially just as much as it'll impact, the bridge usage as well. So, so can we get some details on that, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, yes, I can get you over what Chris at McMahon worked with me. And again, it's 15 grand. So we'll only be paying 3 grand of that. But I understand that 15 or 50 or 100, it's all money out of our budget and our tax dollars. So we need to be accountable for that. So I will get you the details that he sent over to me and just maybe give the checklist. And it, as Chad said, it's just been in with the past year or two with the retro bridge grant, that it's just a new qualification. And unfortunately, COVID hit us, so we had to push it off for a while. So if we would have started before, we probably wouldn't have ran into this. So I'll also ask just why maybe it's a qualification now and get that information out to council, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Next on my report is the Arley grant, and this is similar grant we went out for the firehouse flashers. We're going to be working on this with McMahon for West Broad and South Main Street crossings. This is due at the end of June. We don't need a resolution for that. Of course, we get support letters from the senator and the state representative, but I'm just trying to secure some funding for the crossings at South Main and West Broad. Moving on, that will also be for the multimodal grant as well, which will be in July, focusing on West Broad and South Main Street crossings. This was the grant that we applied for. We already have it budgeted. Unfortunately, we didn't get it this round. We're just going to submit the same application again. He'll get me some updated project costs. As you know, things are increasing, so we might have a little bit more match on that. The project might have gone up. He'll get me those numbers by July, so I'll have those for my July report. And also the Monco CTP grant, which is similar, talks about like county transportation. We're going to be focusing on just the South Main Street crossing for that grant. Now, the county said you could include West Broad and South Main, but they said we would have a better chance at securing the grant if we focused on South Main, just due to the walkability aspect of the Monco 2040 plan talks about walkability and looking at the Liberty Bell Trail and looking at the bikeability in town and, connecting the Liberty Bell Trail from one side of South Main to the other side of South Main, and having, a flashing crossing might up our chances of getting the grant if we focus on the walkability aspect and the, safe routes in the community. So for the MTF and the Monco CTP, those are going to be due by the end of July. So I'm working with Anton at McMahon on getting some numbers so you guys can see those in some resolutions for consideration for the July workshop regular meeting. And finally, my last update is about the administrative assistant position. I wanted to let you know that we had over 40 applicants apply for the position, and myself and Public Works Director Stephen Fickert went through first round of interviews last week. We have 3 really strong candidates that we are going to call back for a second round interview at the end of June. So we will keep you posted on that and see if we can submit an offer to somebody to start possibly end of July, beginning of August. Does anybody have any questions?
On the administrative assistant, were any of them residents of the borough, just out of curiosity?
We had 1 resident apply from the borough.
Jamie,
Yes, Al.
I have one question there.
Sure.
You covered all these grants, and there was one we talked about a couple months ago, Edgewood Park grant. You were
Yeah.
thinking about getting a grant to update the children's equipment over there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a DCNR grant that we look into getting, and we'll talk about that. That'll be on again for the strategic planning meeting. The only thing with the DCNR grants, they're really good. You can do in-kind match. They have like small community grants. It just takes a little while to get your funding. So if we would get it for next year, we might not really be able to do the project to 2023. But I work with Andrew, I think that's his name. I'm having a mind blank. But he's really great. He comes in, sat down with Lindsay and I, talked about the grant. We talked about what we'd like to see at Edgewood and kind of draw a game plan and move from there to try to get some funding for Edgewood Park.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, as I'm reading back, did I go over this private sewer lateral televising for Orchard and Forest? I might have skipped over that. My apologies. Real quick, let you know, Steve and I are working on that. I believe we have 12 out of 14 residents that have agreed to televise, and one of those residents has already agreed to a full replacement. I think they have half of it replaced already, so they'd just like to continue that. We're looking to get Bucks County Sewer and Water out there next week to televise. We'll get those reports back. We'll send them over to Chad just to share that information, and we'll move forward with that project. I know the CDBG was advertised on PennBid, I believe today, and will be in the newspaper tomorrow. We'll be having a bid opening in the next coming pre-bid in the next coming weeks and bid opening in July. So we'll be moving forward with that grant project as well.
That project went live today on PennBid.
Great.
You all good, Jamie?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Any questions? Final call. All right, let's move on. New business discussion items, resolution 2021-12, establishing a new banking account at the TD Bank NA. Mike, you're gonna have to help me with that, or Jamie?
North America.
What was that?
TD Bank North America. So that
Okay.
the reason why this is set up is for that America, the ARPA. So the monies have to be set into a separate account and has to have its own checking account. And the account that is set up cannot be an interest-bearing account. So we can't make money on the money that we're given by the government, and it has to have its own checking account. So originally I thought this account could be set up at Harleysville Bank, put the money in there and roll it out when you need it, but no, it has to have its own checking account. And since we don't have a checking account at Harleysville, it has to go to TD Bank.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Moving on to item B. Salters. Fireplace 2021 Egg Fest request.
So Salters has had their Egg Fest for many, many years until last year, or I'm sorry, the Egg Fest that occurred as wood burners and Salters for many years until last year. They're requesting that the borough allow them to have it. Even though that parking lot the borough doesn't own, we have a municipal easement on that parking lot. We're ultimately responsible for maintaining the parking lot itself and stormwater on the parking lot. So even though the owners, the people, Salters, the trolley stop, the Ron Gross property, they own all that property. They maintain it for snow removal and all that. Our responsible is the maintenance of the macadam, the curbs, sidewalks, crosswalks, and the stormwater. So they're requesting that they occupy that space for their Egg Fest. And I believe they've also already communicated with the trolley stop on this, as I recommended that they do so. And they're going to communicated with Hat Tricks. They're going to utilize Hat Tricks parking for the attendees. And of course, we'll have the SEPTA lot will be available for people to park at.
Any questions on that? Moving on. Okay, looks like 2021 ADA curb ramp replacement project. Payment request number 1, final payment recommendation. You want to explain that one?
Yes, in your packet is that, in the, on the screen and in your packet is that, that payment request and the review letter by our engineer to pay the $56,740. You'll note, the original contract was $47,840. We had an $8,900 net change order, and that was that pipe that crossed Blaine Avenue from one sewer, from one manhole to another, from one inlet to another. And that, since they were on site and could do that work for that cost, that was, that change order is recommended as well. And making the final project $56,740.
Yeah, just an FYI, Mike did review that with the Utilities Committee and we were, we approved it, so.
All right, so you know all about it. Anybody else?
No.
No? All right, how about if we move on from there?
This is the sewer lateral ordinance that we've, ordinance 540, as it's been numbered, that we've been talking about for several months. Based on the communications that we've had with HTMA and the Chapter 94 reports they received and the letters back from DEP on that we have to do something to further, try to do everything we can to minimize the inflow and infiltration into the borough's sanitary sewer system. So this is the latest version of draft of what you've been looking at. And it's on for an action item to advertise this for a public hearing at the next meeting.
Any questions? I bet if we continue moving on. Edinburgh Square subdivision update.
And I gave you that basically in my manager's report. They
Yeah.
received a letter recently. And actually I had a communication, an email from the developer asking to meet with staff. We're gonna meet with him Thursday morning.
Everybody's good with that?
Mhm.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm okay, yeah.
thank you. How about reports and correspondence, monthly investment report? The monthly IT, how about the police report? Let's go there. She is. Any questions for Lieutenant Jane? No,
No,
she's gonna say, that's awesome. I'm doing a heck of a job.
Make it too easy on me.
Yeah. I just scrolled to see if you were there at this point in time.
Still put you hanging in there.
Before I announced the police report to see, make sure you were there.
oh,
Any questions at all? Anything?
nothing.
Anything to tell us, Lieutenant Jane? Anything new going on?
No, nothing too new. I mean, we have our two new hires, so we're happy to welcome them aboard. And we're definitely seeing an uptick now that everyone's coming out of the COVID hibernation. So we'll see what the summer brings us.
I met one guy. Who are the two hires name wise? Do you
Who
recall?
was he with? Do you remember?
How about Anthony?
Okay, so that would have been our brand new hire, Patrick Kivlin.
Yeah,
And he's going to be attending the academy starting on July 6th.
yeah, I met him the other day. And who's the other fellow? Or
Thomas
Person?
Sally.
Thomas? I don't think I met him.
Yeah, he's riding with Officer McCoy right now.
Okay. That's pretty good. There's no comments. Nobody has any comments for the lieutenant. I guess we move on. And here comes a report from Stephen Fickert. Do you have anything to say, Stephen? Steve? It's too
I-
formal with Stephen.
I have nothing to add. If anybody has questions about it, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Thank you for the detailed reports on the power outage.
Look at that.
No
huh?
problem.
Things you can't prevent, right? Bad drivers.
Gives you a job, John.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought I was doing my job because we were dispatched to it. And I called it, as a good soldier, called it right into the borough. But it was like sort of old news because you guys were all out there, you know?
Yep.
Michelle had done the tow on it. That's why
Yep. I saw her there.
yeah. Engineering report.
I think just
Uh,
about
yeah.
everything in my report was already discussed.
Yeah,
You're doing a great job, John.
I'm telling you, no, you guys are being very effective tonight. You're looking out for me. And I appreciate it. Get somebody calling in saying I'm doing a lousy job. That's a shame. Hang up on them. We don't tolerate that. All right, I guess we go into some action items here, huh? Motion to consider advertising ordinance 540 for sewer lateral repair.
Move to advertise the ordinance.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
There's no question.
Hey, Mike, you want us to do that or you guys handle?
Kate usually does the ordinance advertising.
Yep, no problem. We'll do.
Okay. Everybody satisfied with that one? Any other questions? We good? We should have covered the questions when we were talking about it.
Is there any comments or questions from anyone that's on the call from residents?
There you go.
I don't see anybody's hand raised at this time.
All right. Moving on. We had it documented, the motion and the second, and all in favor, and we're on to something else. Motion to consider resolution 2021-12, approving establishing a new bank account at TD Bank. What's that? North America.
North America.
Oh, he's a good listener.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion to consider Salters Fireplace 2021 Egg Fest request for September 18th, 2021.
I move to approve that request.
I will second it.
Mr. Laird, and Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item.
Pay the bills.
One last thing here. We have the motion to consider renaming a paper street known as Broad Street, shown as East Broad Street on the Prestige Property Partners LLC plan to be named Bennett's Court.
I move to approve that renaming.
And who seconded that? We have a
Second.
second? Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Next item.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? This is Kate. And I'm going to direct this to Mike DeFinis. In addition to renaming the paper street, Mike, are we also waiving subdivision of that piece of property from the properties around it?
Do we have to do that now, Kate, or can we do it during the land development approvals?
We can wait. The only difference would be the applicants asked for it because they have deeds from the nearby property owners from them waiving any rights to the paper street other than access to the back of their properties and things like that. And they can't record them until the paper street has a tax parcel number. So we could wait, but they can't record those deeds that are going to be needed for their development until they can do that, until we waive subdivision on that.
Just on that piece of land?
Correct, on the paper street alone.
Okay, so what would the motion sound like then?
The motion could sound like, make a motion to waive subdivision for, what are we naming this?
Bennett's Court?
Bennett's Court, a paper street near the Bennett's Court subdivision, or what's the main street that runs along there, Mike, that intersects it?
Maple Avenue?
Maple.
Right. So be a motion to waive subdivision to separate a paper street from Maple Avenue without requiring a full subdivision application or plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks. That'll just help the application keep moving along. Appreciate that.
No, thank you for helping us.
Yep.
I guess we should be looking at the bill list. I'm writing down a note about that what we just reviewed, the waiving of the subdivision.
We have another motion, John.
Okay.
Action item E.
Motion to consider payment request number 1 for 2021 88 curb ramp replacement project to G&B Construction Group, Inc. in the amount of $56,740.
I move to approve that payment.
I'll
Second,
second it.
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Motion's been approved. Thank you. And now, here we go with the bills. Anybody have any questions?
I move to approve the payment of the bills.
Okay. We have
I'll
a second?
that.
Mr. Iron, Jason, all in favor?
aye,
Motion's been approved. This is usually my topic. Motion to adjourn. Anybody have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion for you, John.
There you go.
Do
I'll
we have,
second it, John.
What's that?
do we have an executive session? Because if
Yes, we
we do,
do have an executive session.
Yes.
so we have to
Oh,
announce
Christ.
that.
All right, yeah. Motion to adjourn executive session. And that was first by, motion was for, by who?
Jason,
Jason,
Jason?
Sal,
Oh, that's right. Thank you. And the second was,
Sal.
Sal,
No.
thank you, Sal.
Mhm.
And all in favor, say aye
aye.
Aye.
and out of here.
Good night, everyone. Have a good one.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night,
Jason.